Between the hills, the stars, the sky, the river so clear, river so clear.
All right, so as we take a moment and gather and slow down and come together, I'd like to share opening words. Let us join in a spirit of meditation, reflection, or prayer as we deepen into this service. Our opening words today are in honor of our guest Sue's new homeland. They are from poet Andrea Gibson, who is now the Poet Laureate of Colorado, and someone I've recently discovered who is a remarkable, remarkable being. Build yourself as beautiful as you want your world to be. Wrap yourself in light, then give yourself away with your heart, your brush, your march, your art, our poetry, your play. And for every day you paint the war, take a week and paint the beauty, the color, the shape of the landscape you're marching towards. Everyone knows what you're against. Show them what you're for. We join Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists all the world over in lighting our chalice. Dennis, would you come forward to light the chalice? And for those of you online, I invite you to turn on your video and share your candle and light this together. We are in good company. The chalice lighting words today are by Lee Keenby. This chalice is for the living, the changing, the becoming. This chalice is for losing the script of your life, the chapters about who you are in other people's stories. This chalice is for the lost GPS that was supposed to show you how to get where they expected you to go. This chalice is for skipping the directions, coloring outside the lines, painting, not by number, but by silence, by wild abandon, with a brush you made yourself from light deep inside. Startling, vivid, a new voice that already knows you. Finally, a true story. Before I introduce Sue Muraida, I would like to read a poem that is important to her that when I asked her for readings, she suggested. This is a poem called Let This Darkness Be a Bell Tower by Rilke. Quiet friend who has come so far, feel how your breathing makes more space around you. Let this darkness be a bell tower and you the bell. As you ring, what batters you becomes your strength. Move back and forth into the change. What is it like, such intensity of pain? If the drink is bitter, turn yourself to wine. In this uncontainable night, be the mystery at the crossroads of your senses, the meaning discovered there. And if the world has ceased to hear you, say to the silent earth, I flow. To the rushing water speak, I am. Today, we are fortunate enough to have Sue Muraida with us, and she is a writer, speaker, and pursuer of abundant life. Over the past 30 years, she has worked as a medical photographer, a photojournalist, a leadership trainer, a writer, and a teacher. Sue has published 3 books, Change for a Penny, The Silent Sound of Darkness, and her memoir, Going Back for Me, as well as co-authored the anthology Deserts To Mountaintops, Our Collective Journey to Reclaiming Our Voice. And she is currently the program director for Humanities North Dakota. And so without further ado, I will invite her forward to talk to us.
And the story I want to tell you today is my journey from silence to self-expression. Another special person in this room is Don Morrison. For the past 4 years, we've been in a writing group that has met. Before I ever published my book, Don was privileged to hear all my stories. And he helped create that safe place. That's what you have here. I've never stepped foot in this building. This is a beautiful place. It's a beautiful space. The energy in here is welcoming and healing and loving, and I appreciate that. So thank you for asking me to speak, Marnie. I do not live here. I lived in Bismarck for 21 years. A year ago, I moved to Colorado. Fortunately, I kept my job at Humanities North Dakota. I work remotely, so I'm back here for work. Please come to our event this afternoon. You can meet the already infamous Rafi Andonian. It's a free event. Also, I told Marnie, I said, okay, I can speak. I have around 10,000 stories, give or take. How long do I have? And she said 20 minutes. So here we go. When I wrote my memoir, I published with a publishing company called Soul Speak Press, and they publish what they call only memoir manifestos, and they only publish women. The owner of that publishing company is Jess Buchanan. I don't know if that name sounds familiar, but in 2011, she was abducted by land pirates in Somalia. And she was held captive for 93 days, made to get on her knees that night, gun held to her head to be executed, but was allowed to live. 93 days, then Obama, some of the criteria is they knew where she was, but they couldn't rescue her until the situation met certain criteria. And she was on the brink of death. And Obama sent in SEAL Team 6. So that is my writing mentor, my friend, my publisher. So it's been a journey. I'm a writer by trade. I'm a journalist. I've published other books, but I published those books as not fully authentically me. The book back there, called Going Back for Me, is my true story. So I want to give you a little idea about my journey. I do have notes, so I'll look if we get in trouble. But when I was born, I was given a 50% chance of living. So I was born premature. I had an older brother. He was a toddler. He was fat and happy. And then I was born but didn't come home. He wanted a brother. I was a sister. My life hung in the balance for a couple of days. My lungs didn't have what they needed to breathe. I did survive. And my mom didn't travel. The nearest hospital was 45 minutes. So my grandma and my dad came to get me. So my brother's enjoying my mom again. She's not pregnant. She's playing with him. And in I come, a girl, not a boy, and was introduced to my brother. My brother didn't take to that very well. In fact, when I was awake, he would sit outside and tell my mom, tell me when that baby goes back to bed. You know, kids are like that, right? They lose the spotlight. Well, 6 months after I was born, my mom became pregnant again. She did not want to be pregnant again. All her pregnancies, she was bedridden. And this was the same. She was on birth control, got pregnant anyway. So she was very upset. She was bedridden. I was 6 months old. My brother was 2.5. And she couldn't hold us. She laid down, put me in a playpen, laid on the floor, talked to me, laid on the couch. And my baby brother was born, also premature, also given 50% chance of living. He did not make it. So our mom went from, and I've had conversations with my mom, went from laying on the floor playing with us to laying in bed, laying on the couch, depressed, and even suicidal. And I say all this, and I start this story with this story because my brother became one of my worst abusers. And only in dissecting those first few years can I find compassion for him. We don't have a relationship. I tried to see him a year ago, and it didn't work. But anyway, from that moment, my earliest recollection of life, I was silenced. My brother didn't like me. He didn't want me. He hit me. As he grew and he learned language, he told me I was stupid. I was fat. I was ugly. No one wanted me. And he had some other issues going on, but as a kid, I didn't know that. My parents, said, both of you stop fighting, go to your room. I love my parents. They were hospital pharmacists. If there's any fault, they were workaholics. They were busy. I love my parents. But they didn't see it as abuse. So it got worse as we grew older. He grew stronger. We were left alone as young as 8 and 10. And he would hit me in the back. He would kick in my door. He would, a lot of it was psychological and verbal. But one day he grabbed me and he threw me to the ground and he pinned my arms between his legs and he fiddled in his pocket and he pulled out a knife and he held it to my neck. And he told me all about what happens if you slit your throat and how you die and all that. And gosh, I was young. And I just had so much fear. He told me that, no, I'm not going to kill you today. I think I'll wait. And that was the psychological roller coaster I was on. Well, my brother, I was very shy, very quiet kid. I held my breath a lot. I lived in fight or flight, so I was always holding my breath. I made myself very small. I didn't like contact. And at the age of 14, we went to a family reunion, and I was sitting out on my grandma's porch, and my mom's older brother sat down next to me. He said, "Hey, beautiful." And I just was like, oh, whatever. And he said, "Tell me about your boyfriend." And I laughed. I'm like, "I don't have a boyfriend." And in my head, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm stupid. And he said, "You're beautiful. You're athletic, you're all this." And before I knew it, it was like water on dry ground. And I just blossomed in his presence. This was my mom's older brother that was in and out of money and women. And at the moment, from overheard conversations, at the moment he was a millionaire and single. And what began as me finally absorbing some attention, some love, some value to my own existence, quickly became sexual abuse, also ruled in fear. So my uncle told me, "You can't tell your parents. They don't get you. They don't understand." And so I believed him. I was already shy. I was already beaten down by a brother who misunderstood the beginning of my life. I think when he saw my face, he saw not only the death of the brother he wanted, but he lost our mom because she had become depressed and suicidal. Neither one of us knew what to do with that, and neither did my mom. And so it was a mashup of joy and pain and misunderstanding, but what it led to was 18 years of me living in fear, fight or flight. That was my posture. So I'll tell you, the abuse with my uncle ended. It lasted a year and a half. He was a millionaire, so he flew me to Tahoe, to LA. He bought me concert tickets. He bought my first car. He did all this stuff, and my mom let him because he was family. And the last thing he did was buy me that car. And he called my mom one day and he said, "Hey, I need, I'll buy a ticket, but Sue needs to fly out to LA. I found a car for her." And my mom on the phone says, "Oh, that's wonderful. That'll help us out a lot." And she said, "But I don't want her going alone. I want her brother to come." And I was kind of relieved because I didn't want to be alone with my uncle. And my brother said, "Well, I'm not going unless my girlfriend comes." So all three of us flew out to LA. I was 15. We stayed at my uncle's condo. And at night, we had done some stuff during the day, but at night he said, "Hey, Sue, let's go see your car." And he went to get his keys. And I said to my brother, my abuser, I said, "Please come with me." And he goes, "Why?" He was watching TV with his girlfriend. "Why?" I said, "Because I'm afraid to be with him alone." It was the very first thing I ever said to ask for help. And he said, good, have fun. So I went with my uncle alone that night in LA, down these streets, the two of us, the streetlights, to an empty warehouse. He opened with a key, he opened the warehouse, and he flicked on a light, and there was the buzz of a couple of fluorescent lights. And there was a big tarp over my car. It was a VW Bug. It was a 68 VW Bug with mag wheels and a sunroof. It was awesome. But we walked in, and he said, let's go see your car. And he walked behind me, and he pulled the tarp off, and we were looking at it, and then he reached behind me to touch me, and I lost it. I lost it. Something primal within me, I screamed. I screamed. I told him to kill me. I told him to do whatever he wanted. I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I'm done. I lost it. It was either that or death. And he put his hands up and he backed off. And we got in the car and it was silent. And the next day we drove that car from LA to Salt Lake, where I lived, and it was silent. And in that short journey, what my brain told me is he and I are the only two that know about this. I knew it was over. I knew he wouldn't call me again, and it was. But the decision I made that day, I was so brave. I was so brave. And I took that bravery and I got in the car and I took my heart and I shoved it away. And I made a vow to never tell that story. And if I didn't tell it and he didn't tell it, no one would ever know it happened. Well, the problem with trauma is it doesn't go away and it's stored in your body. Well, I left home at 18 after that bravery, and I thought, I went out of state to college, and I thought, I can create any person I want to be. Who do I want to be? So I went to college. I was the life of the party. I was a ski instructor. I played soccer in college. I had friends. I had a blast. It was awesome. It was that I was creating this person. I met a boy, didn't fall in love with him, but as it got closer to graduation and he asked me to marry him, I didn't know what else to do, so I married him. And he joined the military. So we started that, military career, and I got pregnant and I had our first baby, had our second, had our third, had our fourth, had 4 girls, 4 daughters. And when our oldest daughter was 1.5 years, I found the church. I didn't find God. And the church became my third abuser. And there's a chapter in my book called When an Abused Woman Goes to Church. And so I tried to live the Christian life with my husband, who had anger issues, who was also an abuser in his own way. And so, but outwardly, and I lived in this community for 21 years up till a year ago. So a lot of people who are reading my book, that's not the person they met. Who they met was a people pleaser, scared to death, do anything in the background, but I'm not gonna take the lead, because no one knew exactly who I was. And here's what I believe with all my heart. I'm deconstructing a faith that I told I should have, and I'm reconstructing a love and a faith in a creator. So I'm in the middle of that journey. I know, and Don Morrison kept going, you need to come to our church. Anyway, so I'm in the middle of that, but I will tell you this, and I know it at the very core of me. We were all born with the desire to be fully known, and loved anyway. Right? We all have it. We were all born with a desire to be fully known and loved. Anyway, let me give you my phone. I don't need it. Anyway, I do want to tell you, and I was going to start with this and forgot, but let me tell you what I do today, and it's the first thing, and I've only been doing it for a few years, is my book is about going back and getting me, getting my heart, getting who I was, my authentic self, and bringing it, introducing her to my present. And a way that I do that is every day I have to put my hand over my heart and I have to say, I love you. I'm listening. 2 things no one did for me and I didn't do for myself. I love you. I'm listening. Because see, there's a story we all know. Think about it. Think about your story right now. There's a story we know, right? Then there's a story we tell. Which story are you telling? And does the story you're telling match up with the story you know? Because I believe there's a story that we all want to tell. And that's what burned inside me, was a story I wished I could tell and that people would love me anyway. And that's the biggest lie of trauma, is that no one will support you. And there's been an overabundance of support and people on the same journey. Then I believe there's a story we're called to tell. I believe story is how we learn to live and how we learn to love. Think about it. Movies, books, family stories, stories you tell your friends, stories at the end of the day. What's the thing you want to tell when you get home? It's how we learn to live and how we learn to love. And how I made my journey from silence to self-expression, 4 things. Vulnerability. You can't get there unless you can be vulnerable. And you can't be vulnerable unless you have community. But that community has to be safe for you. 2 people in my community are here. I have a very small community. I have a lot of friends. I have a small community. But I could be vulnerable in my community. And then I believe we all need, in order to be authentic and tell our true story, is we need some level of spirituality. We need a higher purpose than ourselves, whatever that may be. That we are part of a whole, that we are part of humanity, that we have purpose and value. And the last one is activity. Vulnerability, community, spirituality, and activity. And the activity I recommend for myself, that I do, and I recommend, is put your hand over your heart every day and say, I love you. I'm listening. Thank you.
There is grace falling from the sky. There is hope always around. There is light shining from above. There is you and me. Always there's love. Om tare tu tare ture so 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 I surrender to the mother of us all. I surrender. On my knees I fall. I surrender. Anger, fear, and doubt. I surrender to what this life's about. Om tare tu tare ture so
Well, I will tell you, okay, I have 10,000 stories plus. In my book are 42 of them. I believe it's 42 stories that tell my story. As my publisher said, something happened to me. I learned something. Now I want to teach something. That's a memoir manifesto. And she also said to me, Sue, some people have the ability to heal publicly, and those that choose to heal publicly help thousands heal privately.
So, extinguishing the chalice. There are miles behind you. There are miles behind you and many more ahead. As you journey on toward wholeness, may all that is good and true guide your way. May the joy of love lighten every step, and the miracle that is life be ever in your sight. Thank you.
And the world will be a better place, and the world